Hey everybody, what is going on? HexLex here, got another deck profile for you, coming at you with a Fire Nexus list. This is actually take 2 of this list for me here, because I accidentally deleted the previous video after I already edited it and everything, so womp womp. But you know what? It was actually a bit of a blessing in disguise because the previous build, there were some things that I wasn't like super sure about it, so I decided to experiment a little bit with this one. I'm actually glad that I did. We have some very quality games here coming up, so definitely look forward to those. But Fire Nexus. So Fire is one of the spirit types that I haven't really tried a deck yet that's like very much focusing on that spirit type, so wanted to give Fire a bit of a whirl. And Fire has been receiving a lot of attention lately. A lot of people are currently regarding it as a pretty good deck, so figured we would go ahead and take a look for ourselves. And I actually have been having a ton of fun playing this. So this is based a lot on the build, I believe, popularized by Trishula. And there are some liberties I didn't take with it, though. So we're going to go into the build here, and I'll talk about those liberties that I took as I go. So starting off with 3 copies of Rummikul. So Rummikul being a 1 Fire Spirit 2/2 that can add a Stadium, any Stadium rune, or Stoke the Forge from your hand on cast. It also gets +1 attack for each Fire Spirit enchanting it as long as the Volcanic Forge is enchanted. So this can search the Forge or the Stoke the Forge, which can search more stuff. And then while the Forge is in play, this is actually a 4/3 if it has 1 Spirit under it. So decent enough stat line. You don't always want to play the Volcanic Forge right away, though, is kind of the thing. So a little bit, iffy on if you actually want to make this a 4/3 right away. And to be fair, even if you do, that's still not like the best stat line in the world, but still good enough. It's a searcher that can grab our Stadium, which is one of our main Nexus banks, and it can also grab another searcher as well. So got 3 copies of Kindleo on top of that. This is the Nexus part of the Fire Nexus deck. Kindleo is a 3/1 for 1 Fire Spirit that can Nexus up to 2 fire, and when you do, you can target and destroy an opponent's Celestial. So obviously a pretty powerful effect. Nexusing is already good to do in general, and having a good effect when you do on top of it is very solid. One of the big things that is kind of relevant for Fire is that it has a great Nexuser, but it doesn't always have the best things to Nexus to. That said, Kindleo is so good that I think it is just worth playing a Nexus-based build. So the other Fire 1 Spirit that we're playing 3 copies of is Nekruff, simply because it has the number 5 on it, so it is a good card. We have 1 copy of Ash Rabbit. I know I just said that Fire doesn't really have receivers, but it does in this. Of course, Ash Rabbit, you look at the three of your cards in your Underworld. Your opponent picks 1 to either add to your hand, or if it's Spirit, put back into your Spirit deck. The thing about Ash Rabbit is, like, this card reads crazy good on paper, right? Like, even if you end up putting a Spirit back, like, that still feels like it's, fine. It's got a good stat line. Adding cards back to hand is good. But the problem is, like, this doesn't really do a great job of, like, advancing your board state that much. It's a very slow and very defensive card, right? And unlike Ash Rabbit, it's not a good turn 1 play. It does require setup. So that's why we only have the 1 copy. Our last Fire Celestial is going to be a single copy of Lavalith, which is, I think, pretty self-explanatory. Lavalith is not only just a great Celestial in general, but we're already on Fire, so no reason not to include it. So that is all of the Fire Celestials in our deck here. For non-Fire Celestials, and this is where things get maybe a little bit spicy. I'm not the first build that I've seen doing this with Fire Nexus, certainly, but not every build is on it. We're actually playing 3 copies of Cybermole, and I'll just go ahead and tell you we're playing a single Golden Fleece along with him. So the idea here, because I'm going to tell you right now, before you even go to the Spirit deck, we're only playing 2 Solar Spirits total. So you may be wondering, what's up with that? You're playing Cybermole and Golden Fleece in Fire of all decks, and you're not even playing that many Solar. Like, you're not even playing enough Solar to properly enchant the Golden Fleece on the Cybermole. What gives with that? So that's the idea. We're actually not properly enchanting the Golden Fleece off the Cybermole. In previous versions of this deck that I've played, one of the Nexus banks that it would use is the Necklace of Harmonia, and then the Argo to search it out. Indeed, it is good to have artifacts in this deck to Nexus from, because sometimes having spirits to Nexus from with the Kindleo is like the most important part to really establish, board control and start popping your opponent's Celestials, right? But here's the thing with that. If you go for Argo Necklace of Harmonia, it's just extremely expensive. The other thing that I'm not really a big fan of with the Necklace of Harmonia is that it's just too expensive upkeep to try to use it as an equipment tool as well. If you don't have the ability to cast off or Nexus from it, which can very easily be the case if, for example, they were to like Gorgons or Kinleo, or even just like, pop it or something, then, it can be a little bit tricky when you're stuck with the necklace up. I lost games having the necklace up, so decided to try out the 3 Cybermole, 1 Golden Fleece here. Again, the idea is that when you cast the Golden Fleece off Cybermole, you can re-enchant fires from your underworld to the Golden Fleece, and then use those to Nexus. It's overall cheaper, and also is a little bit of like healing in that regard too. If you're wondering what to do with excess copies of Cybermole after the first one is grab the Golden Fleece, then you can simply misenchant it for fire, and look at that, if your Forge is up, now this is a 5. So having the 4/1 body is also quite good on it as well. Like I said, I'm not claiming to be the first Fire Nexus deck to be playing Cybermole, but I did decide to give it a go, and I have enjoyed it quite a bit, so. Okay, just a few more Alestrals in the deck. 3 Astrabbit, it's an Alestrals deck, so yep. And then 2 Eddie. Our only water Alestral, and I would play a 3rd copy if I had some room for it. I could probably make some room for it, but not super pressed to find room for a playset. Not on small 2 guy anymore. Like, in theory, it's really good, the 2/5 stat line, to be able to search. Like, sometimes it's, like, just better Astrabbit. But the thing is, like, it's a lot like the Ash Rabbit in that it's defensive, and in that regard doesn't really advance the board state as much as you would like to a lot of the time, so Eddie's going to be our only water Alestral in this deck. Alright, moving on to runes, we have 2 Volcanic Forge, that's our Stadium, which we have played 2 because we can grab it off the Rummacoal. Same with Stoke the Forge. We play 2 because we can grab it off of Rummacoal. This, while the Volcanic Forge is up, lets us search for any of our 1 Spirit Fire Alestrals, so pretty obvious that's where the use is there. Golden Fleece, like I said, we're only playing the 1. And then Earthquake, we have that just for being good removal. 3 Ambro, it's the Alestrals deck. The resting on your laurels, I'm a little bit iffy on, because I will say there are quite a few game states where it's not good. The idea, of course, as always ever, is that if you're in that game state, you're probably ahead. But given that we're playing a Stadium, that's actually not even necessarily always the case. I just mentioned I was thinking about putting in a 3rd Eddie. I was actually kind of thinking about taking out the resting for that Eddie, or possibly another counter rune. So that 1 card is a little bit dubious, but I mean, resting I think is still like fine overall. Counters, we play a few more counters than you would normally in this deck, because a lot of our guys can be pretty fragile, right? Especially like the Kinleo and the Rummacoal as we're trying to set up like the Nexus plays. So to protect them, we have 2 copies of Tsunami, which again, I'm actually kind of thinking about taking out the resting maybe for a 3rd Tsunami or Eddie, but there's that. And then we also have 3 Altar of Stars. This card is great not just because we're a Nexus deck, but this actually plays extremely well with the Cybermole Golden Fleece too. Because one of the big kind of concerns, right, is that the Cybermole Golden Fleece is great for Nexusing, but being that you get to the Golden Fleece off of a normal cast, it's kind of like a 2-turn setup, right? So you might be thinking, oh, but then if they just get rid of the Cybermole, you can't use the Golden Fleece to even protect, and then you don't have any spirits left, right? But Altar can help with that. See, if you set an Altar of Stars with the Cybermole equipped to the Misenchanted Golden Fleece, right? Like, let's say you have, I don't know, Fire and Water under the Golden Fleece, right? You can cast Altar of Stars to try to go to battle, spending the water off the Golden Fleece to Nexus the Fire onto the Cybermole, and then change the battle position of their card that they're battling with. So now not only have you saved your spirits, but also your Cybermole lives, and you can still Nexus, on the follow-up turn. So that's kind of the idea behind, one of the ideas behind Altar of Stars. Again, of course, it is also just a generally pretty good card, in a Nexus-based deck. 3 Gorgons and 3 PTA. Pretty self-explanatory there. Alright, finally going to round it out here with the Spirit deck. And it's also fairly self-explanatory. We're playing a lot of different stuff here, but it actually doesn't require too much of a Spirit requirement. So, as I touched upon before, we're only playing 2 Solar for the 3 Cybermole, 1 Golden Fleece. The idea being behind 2 Solar that if you cast the first Cybermole, it's almost always going to eat a Gorgon's Gaze. So the second Solar is here for the, of course, second Cybermole. There is also the very rare situation in which you'll draw Golden Fleece, and if you do that, it's actually pretty good to just use the 2 solar to have it protect a card. Like, you might as well use it for that if you're gonna, draw it anyway. So that's why we're on 2 solar here. 2 Taratlus for the Earthquake. We're on 3 Zaptor for the 3 Astrabbit. 3 because we like to re-enchant the Astrabbit. 3 Leviathan for 2 Eddy, 2 Tsunami. That's even a little... Like, you can make an argument for only playing 2, but sometimes you also want to enchant like a Nekruff with water to play around Tsunami. And then that leaves 10 Spirits for the Vipyros. If you want to play more fire, which I actually am slightly thinking about doing, you could definitely cut a Zaptor and then go up to 11 Vipyro. Again, if you stay at 4 water cards, you could, even if you really, really, really wanted to, I think you could cut a Leviathan and go down to 2, but that might be a little bit much. So, alright, there is our list. Let's go ahead and check out these games here. Okay, let's take a look at these games that we got here against Queso Jama, who's going to be on Camel 5s, the same list, I believe, that topped the latest webcam tournament pretty recently. So, Queso started off by mulling here, spending 2 solar to do that. Makes sense because he can recoup those with the Camel later. We're going to go for Rumicole to start off with, a pretty ideal turn 1 opening play. So, going to use the Rumicole in order to grab out that Volcanic Forge there, if I recall. Yep. No, actually, let's Stoke the Forge, because I already have the Volcanic Forge in my hand. So, yeah, I don't always do this on turn 1, but my current hand, I feel like if I remember right, was set up to not only protect the Rumicole, but I did already open Volcanic and Stoke. And I'm trying to remember, I think I might have even known that Queso was going to be on Camel 5s going into this. So I was like, yeah, I can just throw out the stadium here and, not risk getting it, run over or played over with like a Mount Olympus or something. So I'm going to cast the Volcanic Forge as well as the Stoke the Forge, going for a Kindleo here. I guess even if the Rumicole does die, as long as the Forge sticks around, I do still have a Nexus target there. Again, being able to set up that Nexus bank for the Kindleo is so important, mostly because our bodies, like the Kindleo and the Rumicole, can be a little bit frail, like in terms of stats. Just not having the highest, so. Alright, Queso's going to throw out an Earth and go for a Viscerus here. So, definitely does a decent job of threatening the Rumicole. Gonna set a couple of cards, which is always intimidating, to see a couple of back rows on top of an already good standalone Celestial like this. Gonna try to battle over, but we have Tsunami, so that will definitely put a stop to the attack there. After that, Queso passes back over to me. Now, we do have that Kindleo in hand, but I want to actually set up, I think, another play here. Because I don't really need a Kindleo right this moment. Like, I can pretty easily battle over the Viscerus. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to try to set up the Cybermaul. Another reason I'm playing Cybermaul before a Kindleo is for the exact card that I believe Queso is about to play here. So, yes, I'm explaining that I can cast the Fleece and use spirits from the Underworld. So, the fire and the water that are in there, I can use those to cast the Golden Fleece. So, Queso is in fact going to use the Gorgon's Gaze. A lot of the time when you play Cybermaul in this deck, it's going to end up eating the Gorgon's Gaze, but that's actually completely fine. And like I was saying, that's actually part of the reason why I played Cybermaul and not Kindleo here. Again, on top of not feeling like I needed Kindleo, the Cybermaul definitely eats quite a bit of the back row there. So, thankfully, the Rumicole is able to successfully, if I can talk here, battle over the Viscerus. I was really, really scared of a Shield of Achilles there, but thankfully it was not face down. Alright, Queso gonna nog it up here with the Nectar of the Gods, paying 2 to draw 2. Yeah, one thing you'll probably notice that this video is a little bit longer than the others, but we actually had a couple of pretty quality games here, so I wanted to make sure that I got both of them. Especially the next game. Definitely stay tuned for that one. It's a really, really good one. It might honestly be the best game of Lustrals I've played so far. It really might be. So, I'm just explaining the stat difference here, because, of course, the Rumicole not only gets +1/+1 from the Forge, but also +1 attack for each of its Fire Spirits. So, yeah, the Rumicole was a 4/3, and the Cybermaul was a 4/1, so. Alright, it's a Lumaru coming down from Queso here, who is going to use the Lumaru to battle over my Cybermaul, forcing me to mill 3 on top of that. Milling Gorgon's Gaze, Ambro, and Altar. 3 pretty good Omni runes, just kind of going away there, but it's not the end of the world, certainly. We do still have that Kinleo in hand that we searched, and we do still have our Nexus bank. Alright, here I am going to go for the Kinleo. Okay, so I did set another back row, but I think I just have to kind of go for it at this point. I'm going to use the Kinleo effect here to Nexus. Then I'll use the effect to try to destroy the Lumaru. And yeah, Gorgon's coming down, another one in response to that. As always, remember that the 2 effects of Kinleo, as well as other cards like it, they're 2 separate effects, right? So Kinleo Nexuses, and then destroying is a second effect. Same with like Equilinks, right? So yeah, so this Kinleo still has the 2 fire under it. Is going to eat the Earthquake as a result here. Not the most ideal situation for me. I think he dropped a few of his spirits here. But, yeah, because, like, if the Kinleo had been able to survive with the help of my back row, you know, I could have played, like, any other card and then Nexused from the Leo to the other card and popped one of my opponent's cards here. Queso going to throw down a Galaxy. I'm pretty sure my face down is actually a Tsunami. But, of course, with the Galaxy coming down, it's no longer worth it to Tsunami 2 dudes here. I'm just going to take the 2. Taking a Thunder and a Fire there for the damage. Drawing for a turn. One thing I do remember from actually both of these games is that in both games I felt like I should have given up on Earthquake sooner. That, of course, is something that you always have to practice the skill of, is knowing what cards to give up on when you're expending spirits. So, gonna resting here, eat the Galaxy, because I've got that Tsunami face down, right? So, and now here we get to go for the Ash Rabbit. That is going to eat the PTA, but the effect does still get to activate here. And we're in a pretty interesting spot. We actually have quite a few things that we can get back here from the Ash Rabbit. One of my actual kind of big considerations here was the Cybermole, because I did still have that Golden Fleece in my deck, right? So, excuse me, but I'm pretty sure I also have a Rummacle in my hand at this point. So my thought process was, because I'm ultimately going to end up getting Kinleo, Ambrosia, and Gorgon's Gaze. Ambrosia's just always good, right? And a lot of the time I've noticed that opponents don't give you Ambro, even though I think in this situation Ambro would have been, I don't know, I think it would have been the worst card to give me here, personally, but I don't know, it's debatable, so, yeah, I have the Rummacle in hand, so I wouldn't mind having Kinleo. Definitely want more back row, you know, for follow-up plays. That's why I picked the Gorgons. And then again, Ambro was always good here. It's a pretty tough choice, honestly. Kiso ends up giving me the Gorgons, which I actually don't fault him for. To be fair, I don't think I actually end up using this Gorgons for the entire game, so in that regard, it probably was the right pick over Ambrosia, now that I think about it. Yeah, so paying out the PTA on the Ash Rabbit there. Doing a quick spirit count. I didn't see how many I was at there. I think I'm at 10 at this point right now. And okay, so it's a decent bit lower than me here. Because of the dog and the mulligan. Okay, here's a camel. The Campfell. I can never remember if it's Campfell or Calfmel. It's one of the 2. Anyway. Yeah, here I will Tsunami to avoid taking the damage. And of course, Lumaru going to defense mode is pretty good for me, being a 5-2. Makes it pretty easy to run over, so drawing for turn. Checking the yard again. I'm pretty sure that we're going to just end up casting that Rummacle that's in our hand here. Yeah. Oh, no, it's a Nekruff, actually. Oh, that's right. Yeah, so I put a water on this Nekruff because obviously wanted to play around Tsunami. I had to get rid of this Lumaru this turn. Like, that was the main reason I put a water on. It's like, I needed this Lumaru to go away. I could not have it sitting around crashing, and then letting Campfell starting to get in, rather, for damage for free there. It looks like another back row. Case is going to expend a draw, possibly? Or maybe he's running a little bit too low on spirits for that. I think he might be running a little bit too low on spirits for that. Maybe. We'll see. Alright, drawing for turn. Going to go for... Okay, here's the Rumble, so I did have one in hand. I thought that was the case. You know, the funny thing is here, I'm actually not really looking to establish the Forge necessarily, even though I do want to search for it. I was mostly trying to bait out like a Gorgons or something, but I ended up eating a PTA, which is also perfectly fine with me here. That's actually even more ideal than a Gorgons, because not only did I bait out a back row, but I actually still get to keep the Forge. Or search for it, rather. You know what I mean. Now, the Rumble going down to 0 attack does mean that it can't battle for damage here. I'm not, like, super low on spirits, but I am pretty decently low on fire at this point. I think I might only have, like, 2 fire spirits left in my spirit deck, so that's one of the main reasons why I'm not going for the Forge here. Also, like, you know, even if I did Forge to boost the Rumblecoil's attack so it could get in for 1 here, it's like, it's only 1 damage, and at this point, I'm basically, like, trading 1 for 1, and... Again, even though I have a decent spirit count in total, I'm at low enough fire in particular that I value my fires higher than getting in 1 damage here, so. Alright. Yeah, I think Queso just took a point of burn from Necruff, and I'm pretty sure he realizes, because I remember this, because I wasn't even looking at the screen when he did it, and then eventually he's like, oh, oops, I took a point of burn from the Necruff, and... I think he puts it back at some point here, so I don't remember exactly when that happens. Just want to point that out in case you randomly see him throw a spirit back into the spirit deck here. Hey, he does have that Ambrosia there, so that's definitely not too shabby. This one's just got to be... Well, it doesn't have to be expend to draw, I guess. Set a card here, passing back over to me. Yeah, I think he's just low enough that he can't really afford to expend a draw necessarily. Sometimes there does get to be a game state where you get, you get that low. Yeah, going for another Necruff here. Again, you can tell I'm so low on fires because now I'm just throwing like anything on these Necruffs. I'm throwing a Zaptor on that Necruff there. So, gonna swing in here for another 2. Pass it over to Queso. Gonna draw. Sets another 1. And, okay, we have an Earth coming down for... It's gonna be... I'm trying to remember. It's Viscerous, okay. And I am just gonna PTA here. So, with the PTA, that brings the Viscerous down to 3 attack. And, of course, I can simply pay out to destroy it during the end of the turn. And then next turn, I can get in for 2 more with the Necruffs here. Okay, so weighing his options. I'm pretty sure he's only got the 2, or maybe even just the 1 spirit left. I think it's 2, actually. Yeah, and he's like, he just decides you got it here. So with the Tsunami, the Poison Tunic being the last couple of face-down cards there. So we're taking the dub on that one. Yeah, I actually did not end up using that Gorgon's Gaze, so that was not a bad call there. All right, going right into the next game here. Queso's going to immediately start off with the Nectar of the Gods. I forgot I jump-cutted straight into that. But this one's going to be a long one. This is going to be a long game, but it's going to be a good one. So let's buckle in here. Nog going to, of course, pay 2 to draw 2. Queso's going to set... I think he also expended a draw there on turn 1, which I've talked about this before. That might look really weird to do, but there are definitely hands where that is correct. Alright, I'm going to start off with the Astrabbit in defense mode. It's going to eat the PTA here. Going for it in defense mode, even though, I do have the ability to attack because I don't want to, I didn't want it to die to the, whatever Lestral comes down next turn. But, yeah, here the PTA is just going to eat it anyway. I think I actually remember what the 3 were. It was Eddie, Necruff, and... I think I already have, like, Rumbicle. No. I have Cyprimol and Kinleo in hand. I remember this game state. Because I remember thinking, like, okay, so I could take a Necruff here as just a general good card, but, like, between Cyprimol, mostly Cyprimol and Kinleo, I feel like I already had, like, good fire Nexus plays. So I was like, I'm going to take the Eddie here. Basically, I wanted a good reactive play. That's what I'm getting at. I already had good proactive plays in the form of either trying to establish the Kinleo and protect it or the Cyprimol and protect it. And I figured, like, yeah, I could just go for like I said, the the Eddy for a reactive play. Excuse me. Oh yeah, and then I forgot to. Well, actually, technically, you don't have to remind your opponent to PTA, but I think I try to remember. I don't remember who asked to, but at some point, someone during Queso's turn was like, "Oh, yeah, did you want to PTA that rabbit?" And we just let it go because it's friendly. So, Misenchanted Viscerus with the water here. It's very interesting. Gonna swing in for the 1. We'll certainly take it. Yeah, I spent a fire there. Normally I wouldn't spend fire super early, but like you're kind of incentivized to for the Cybermole Golden Fleece. I mean, again, for me particularly because I have the Cybermole in hand, but we are going to Eddy here. Eddy targeting, or it doesn't target. God, I can't believe Eddy doesn't target. Same with Mudlet too. It's actually ridiculous. Eddy just switching the Viscerus to defense mode. I'm going to set another card before swinging in with Edward, and I was actually very surprised when it connected. Although, to be fair, like, Shield on Eddy is not the best play. I mean, it might have been fine here. I guess it would have been, like, we would have broken even on Spirits. I think it just would have basically been a replay. Although, I guess to be fair, he would have dropped another Viscerus, so... I don't know. Anyway. Vis going to attempt to swing over the Edward here. Got a couple of face downs. Debating which one to use. I'm actually going to use Gorgon to stop the attack here. Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations where Gorgon's is worth it just to negate an attack. I think Viscerus might be one of the ones where it's most worth it. So. Alright, now I'm in a little bit of a pickle here because I need to get rid of this Viscerus, right? But I don't really have the means to do it because I've got that Cybermole in hand. I think I have like 2 Ambrosias in hand right now too, but I'm not low enough for those to like matter at all at this point, so it's a little bit awkward. And then my face down is Altar of Stars. I do remember that much. So I'm thinking here, like, okay, I need to establish something. So I'm just going to go for the Cybermole and try to get the Golden Fleece, right? But it's going to eat the Gorgon's Gaze, like I said. Cybermole is just a Gorgon's Gaze magnet, which is not always a bad thing, honestly. Here, I did want the Golden Fleece because it would have played very, very well with the Altar, right? Like, I could have, you know, put fire and double fire even on the I guess fire and whatever else, right? On the Golden Fleece, and then use Altar. Like I was explaining during the deck profile, you can use Altar to pay one of the spirits off the Golden Fleece, and then Nexus the other one, and basically get a free Altar, and then of course swap the position too. So another Viscerus coming down here. This one Misenchanted with the water. Looking at my hand as I'm considering what I'm going to do on the follow-up here. Poison Tunic also coming down on the Cybermole here. That's a very interesting feature of the Camel 5's deck, is that they play the Poison Tunic for the stat decrease and the burn there. So in order to not eat the Poison Tunic burn, I think I am going to end up using the Altar of Stars here. So again, the left Viscerus is Misenchanted with water, but the right one is correctly enchanted. So the left one is a 4-2, but the right one is a 6-2. So I'm going to use Altar here. We're going to pay from the deck. I really should have paid. I really should have started paying Earth here. But we're going to Nexus from the Cybermole to the Eddy, and then we can switch the 6-2 Viscerus to defense mode. So that puts Queso in an interesting decision point where he can crash the Vis into the Eddy, but will take a point of spirit damage if he does, right? So, also definitely leaves the other Viscerus open for being battled into on the next turn, which we're definitely looking to do here. If at all possible. Oops. So I clicked away there for a second. Oh, you know what? We were looking up our ruling at this point. We were trying to figure out if Electrals work the same as Yu-Gi-Oh! For redeclaring attacks, which I looked very quickly just to kind of keep the pace of the game going, but from what I can tell in a quick cursory glance in like the main Discord server, I'm pretty sure it does. That does work that way, so he can choose to redeclare the attack here, right, with the Misenchanted Viscerus. I don't know. I literally just went to the main Elestral's Discord server, searched for the word redeclare, and I saw multiple posts saying, yes, you can redeclare, yes, you can redeclare, yes, you can redeclare. So I was like, okay. But, yeah, it is going to crash the Eddy with the Vis there. I do think that is the right play. I think he must have opened all 3 Viscerous. That would explain the first one being misenchanted too. Bit unfortunate. Or not open, maybe, but, like, maybe just, like, opened one and then drew into the others or something. Checking our spirit counts here before going into our plays. I'm in another situation I remember where I'm starting to, like, run a little bit low on fires. Well, not necessarily right now, but that does happen at some point in this game where I'm, like... Again, I don't know if that's a sign that I need to be playing more fire or if I just need to be spending my spirits more wisely. It's probably, might be a little bit of both. I think I probably will end up cutting that Thunder for an 11th fire. The 3rd Thunder is, like... It's nice. It comes up very, very occasionally, but, like, it's probably one every 20, 25 games or so. It's really not that often. Maybe even not even that, honestly. Maybe even closer to 1 in 40 or something. I don't know. Anyway. Gonna Ambro here. And then I'm going to put a Golden Fleece on the Kindleo. That's the main reason why I Ambroed here, was to get that Solar back into my Spirit deck. So I wanted the Golden Fleece on the Kindleo so that it could survive through to the next turn here. I'm going to try to battle over the Vis, but it is going to eat a Tsunami. So very unfortunate. Now the Golden Fleece is more about just, like, not... I was going to say not taking spirit damage, but you already paid 2 for it, so it's, like, it's a lot. But, I mean, again, obviously the idea was that we were going to battle Kindleo over Vis, and then whatever comes down here was going to sort of not be able to battle over the Kindleo because of the Fleece. And then on the next turn, we could start maybe Nexusing with Kindleo, but here a Camel's going to come down, and Case was just going to end up moving to battle. So first attack with the Vis is going to take off the Golden Fleece. That puts it back down to 1 defense. Now the Camel could run over the Kindleo. And going to pass back over to me. So from here, we're going to expend a draw, set 1, and end up, I think, just passing right back over, right? I know I do have another Ambrosia in hand right now, but again, I'm not really like low enough for it to super duper matter at this point. Okay, here's a Nog from Queso, Nectar of the Gods, coming down to draw a couple of cards. And now we're ascending over the wait, are we? No, we're gonna Ambro. Okay. Spending the Solar there. Yeah, you know, thinking about it, like, the Camel is definitely, I think, the reason why that deck can get away with playing Nog. I mean, I don't know, not that, like, Nog is, like, super bad in, like, you know, an average deck, but it's really expensive. I mean, it's kind of like the whole Argo thing, right? Like, it's just so expensive. Excuse me, that, it's, like, you know, again, a Yu-Gi-Oh player might see Nectar of the Gods and be like, Pot of Greed's at 3 and not every deck even plays it at all, and most decks that play it at 2. Like, how is that possible? But again, it's a lot. 2 spirits is a lot, you know, to pay. So yeah, so we're gonna face down this Lumeru here. That's what ascended the the Camel ascended into Lumeru there, with a water to play around the Tsunami as well. So we're going to end up taking a total of 3 there. 1 from the Vis, 2 from the Lumer. This properly enchanted Viscerous has been a menace for the entire game here. Alright, Astrabbit coming down. Very nice time to top deck that. Get to dig a little bit for cards, and then also, of course, the 5 defense body does manage to fend off the entire board at this point, actually, right now, which is very, very good. Yeah, so I think that one of my main ways of being able to mount a comeback here is to just you know, see if I can start picking apart this board. It's also going to be kind of dependent on what Queso top decks, though, of course, because that's always going to be the case when your opponent's like ahead on board, right? But the Astrabbit definitely was a good start to trying to get control of this game back. All right. Let's see what we got here. Considering his options. That Astrad is so ridiculous for the 5 defense. I really hope that it goes to 1, honestly. like Astrad really is just too good at this point. Alright, pass him back over to me. Alright, going for the Ambrosia. Yeah, I know I know I have a Lavalith at some point. I'm pretty sure I've drawn it by now. But it's like... I don't know. It's weird, because, like... excuse me. I know this is a good board state for it, but at the same time, I am a little hesitant to play it into 2 back row. Oh, no, you know what it was? Because I was trying to remember why I didn't play it. I think I thought... I'm pretty sure I didn't realize that Queso actually had 2 more Enchanting Spirits. Because, like, it's not that I couldn't see them. It's just my brain was like, oh, he's got 2 1-spirits, and I have a 1-spirit out, so I can't drop Lavalith here. But I actually could have definitely dropped Lavalith here. Wow, that's a pretty big misplay on my part. Especially because I played the Forge, and then went for Stoke. And I could have just dropped Lavalith first, like... Yeah, that was a huge misplay. Just totally me not even thinking. Dang. Oh well. I guess here we do get to advance our board state a little bit. Or not even just our board state, but like just our overall like situation, I guess. Like just being able to go for the Kindleo and potentially threaten something. Well, not potentially anything. We are going to threaten because we still have our cast here. Going to go for the Kindleo. Yeah, I should have just played Lavalith here. That's a pretty brutal misplay to realize. But you know what? It's all good. We learn and grow. And, you know, it's a thing that I've been reminding myself a lot of lately, is that, like, when it comes to Elestrals as a whole, like, I started playing this game literally 2 months ago. So, you know, just giving myself that grace. Not saying, oh, it's okay to make these mistakes necessarily, because obviously we want to improve to the point where we're not making mistakes like that, but also not beating ourselves up for it, right? Because that's not productive. It doesn't do anything good for us. All right, another Lumberoo coming down. I think, too, because I used to say this all the time in my Astro Duel deck profiles, but a lot of, like, content creators for TCGs, when they show gameplay... Well, like, I mean, I do it too. Like obviously, you're gonna want to show games where you don't misplay, right? Like, I don't think there's inherently anything bad or wrong about it, and it's to be expected. But I do think that there is also merit to showing and even pointing out misplays, right? Because I don't know, I like the notion that we're all kind of in this together, right? That I'm not like above anybody else, that I never misplay or anything. I feel like it makes the content a little more relatable or approachable, right? Because I mean that is like a skill to develop too. That is a subset of like just playing well, is like, you know, playing well when you misplay. Because it's really easy to misplay and get tilted, but you know, not letting that happen is good. Anyway, poisoned Tunic on the Kindleo. So I'm gonna use Alter. One of Kindleo's spirits I'm going to use to pay for the altar, and then I'll Nexus the other spirit to the Astrabbit. This will help me avoid taking the burn damage from that poison Tunic there. And it's like the Kindleo is going to die anyway, so we might as well. Alright. Yeah, at this point I'm considering my options with like the Lavalith in particular, right? I could ascend over. But I could also re-enchant the Astrabbit with Thunder. There's like definitely some consideration. I think I even have another... Because I'm pretty sure I make another play here. It's the Rummikole. Okay, I established the Rummikole instead. I feel like that had to be a misplay. That was a misplay. I should have... Why? God, I could have set another turn where I could have played Lavalith and I just didn't. I think I was like dead set on normal casting it for some reason, but I think I really should have just ascended over the Astrabbit here Instead, I established the Forge, and it's like, I don't know, I kind of think we're in a game state where the Forge doesn't matter as much anymore, because, like, yeah, I basically just paid a bunch of spirits to walk into a shield. I mean, to be fair, well, no, I guess to be fair, I could have potentially hit the face-down shield with the Lavawith. I was going to say the shield could have bounced the Lavawith, but that's just a 50-50 at that point, right? Another Ambrosia from Queso. Yeah, I don't think I mentioned this yet, but I'm pretty sure... Yeah, because I'm checking my graveyard here. When he activated this one, I'm like... I remember thinking, have we both played all 3 Ambrose here? And I think at this point we have, in fact, both played all 3 of our Ambrosias. So that's kind of wild. Alright, Lumaru going back to attack mode. And then... playing a Moss Station. So, at this point, I did point out to Queso... just to make sure he knew that, like, hey, don't forget that my Astrabbit has a fire under it. Yep, so that with the Forge, it is actually at 6 defense. So, I asked him if he wanted to reconsider his Moss Station play. And he is still going to play it, but by ascending over the Viscerous. By doing it this way, the Moss Station has 8 attack, right? Again, you know, for playtesting / casual play like this, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt mid-game. Like, because here's the way I see it, right? Like, in testing / casual play, like, why force somebody to commit to a misplay, right? Like, obviously, there's no reason to practice the misplay line. You should just want to practice optimal play. And also catching optimal play in the moment, right? So, okay, so here I'm going to use the Gorgon's Gaze. Finally giving up on the Earthquake, which I should have done so long ago. Oh, catching all these different misplays. But again, that's, you know, it's definitely part of the journey and part of the experience there of learning and growing. Thankfully, we did just peel this Ambrosia off the top of our deck. And at this point, I do remember that I do actually ascend into the Lavawith this turn. At this point, I finally realized that, like, oh, I can just do that, right? And here I'm thinking about what I want for my 3rd spirit. Probably just going to end up being a 3rd Vipyro at this point. Yeah. Definitely just a 3rd Vipyro. Yeah, I think Queso's only got the 1 back row, right? Yeah, the other card remaining is in hand. So Lavawith can guarantee to hit whatever the face down is. Which I think is actually another Shield of Achilles. Meaning that even if I had played Lavawith earlier, it would have gotten shielded either way. I mean, that doesn't, you know, make the play correct in retrospect, but... This is still a little bit of a problem, as the Moss Station is an 8-1, and my Lavawith, even with the Forge up, is still an 8-6, meaning the Moss Station there can still crash into my Lavawith. It can actually battle over it, even, if you re-enchant it with Earth, which I'm pretty sure he just does here. Oh no, there's the 3rd Ambro. Okay, that's what it was. That's when it came down. For the last spirit, too. Alright, so... this was when I checked the yard again to be like, okay, that's gotta be each of us having played all 3 Amber, right? And I was like, yep. So, putting back, I think that was Earth, Water? And then, yeah, re-enchanting the Moss Station, so now it's a 10-1. Good lord. Excuse me. Switching to defense mode. No damage because both the Lavawith and the Moss Station had 3 spirits each on them. Alright, drawing for turn. Gonna throw down a Vipyro and a Rummacoal. I do actually still have a Stoke the Forge left in my deck somehow, so... I was mostly just glad that I found something to, you know, run over the Moss Station with. Alright, we're coming into the home stretch for this game here. And we're both pretty low. I mean, like I said, this has definitely been one of the more back and forth Lustrals games I've played so far. Both of us going through all 3 Ambro, and like still both very low on the Spirit deck, but not running out of plays at any point. Galaxy coming down here, going to battle over the Rummacoal before passing back over to me. So here we top deck the Cybermole. And at this point, I'm like, you know, because I have 2 spirits left. Queso's got 1. So what I'm going to have to do is misenchant the Cybermole with fire and crash into the galaxy. I ended up doing that at some point here. But because that's really my only option, right? Like, I can't just sit with the Cybermole and defend. Because it's only got 1 point of defense. So I'm just going to crash here and have to hope that Queso doesn't have a dude and that I can top deck a dude. Then I can win. But the stars were not aligned, as Queso does have one last galaxy to run out with the final Earth. That is going to take out the final spirit of my spirit deck. And yeah, at this point, I don't have any more Ambrose, so that is just going to do it. So, alright. Very, very good game, like I said. Very, very well played. Both these games, I think, were quite good. So thanks for watching, everyone. As always, I really do appreciate you checking out these deck profiles and subbing and all that stuff. This is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out and hoping that you have a fantastic day.